Red Bull are evidently afraid that the other teams are catching up to them, so they're reaching out for ways that have not been seen so far this season in order to keep their distance as the leading team on the grid. Ahead of the Spanish Grand Prix, there should be an examination by the FIA that, if proven successful, might see Red Bull's rivals punished. But how big of a sign of desperation is this for the Milton Keynes squad, and will it prove fruitful? The past few months have been increasingly challenging for Red Bull. Despite Max Verstappen's impressive winning streak, they're losing ground in the Constructors' Championship. Even Verstappen, consistently demonstrating his skill, is finding it harder to fend off Ferrari and McLaren. With the competition at the front heating up, Red Bull is exploring every possible avenue. Before the season started, controversy arose over the Mercedes front wing. The W15 debuted in pre-season testing with a distinctive front wing design. Although the FIA had approved it, questions lingered across the grid. However, as Toto Wolff's team struggled to perform, the issue faded from focus. Now, with Mercedes showing strong performance recently, this relaxed attitude is shifting a bit, and rumours have emerged that Red Bull wants clarification on the W15's front wing. Red Bull's scrutiny isn't limited to Mercedes. McLaren and Ferrari have made huge strides in matching Max Verstappen's pace this season, with the Dutchman failing to win on 3 occasions already in 2024, the same number he failed to win in the entirety of the previous campaign. But Red Bull have now opposed the alleged front wing advantage that McLaren and Ferrari have gained after already lodging an unofficial request to the FIA to take a look at Mercedes vehicles, according to Automotor and Sport. Chiefs at Red Bull headquarters in Milton Keynes are said to be unhappy at how their rivals' front wings bend on straights and in fast corners, which are perceived to potentially be in breach of the current regulations. Last year, Aston Martin were forced to downgrade their front wing because it was not attached to the nose rigidly enough, and subsequently lost a significant amount of pace after the change. Red Bull are said to have asked Aston Martin to join them in appealing to the FIA, but they were not taken up on that approach. If McLaren and Ferrari's flexing front wings, which may have aided Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz in generating optimal downforce in corners, are not banned by the FIA, Red Bull has confirmed they will have to go the same way. Although flexible front wings are prohibited under current regulations, it is acknowledged that wings will flex to some extent under specific aerodynamic loads. Teams are therefore challenged to achieve the ideal balance of flexibility without failing the FIA's various load tests. It remains uncertain whether McLaren and Ferrari will be penalised by the FIA if found in violation of regulations, or if they will receive a similar directive as Aston Martin did 10 months ago, when they were required to downgrade their wing. Mercedes also had the same suspicion as Red Bull, but instead of challenging the FIA, they opted to make an adjustment to become similar to Ferrari and McLaren, albeit within the legal limitations of how flexible a front wing can be. The results of Red Bull's FIA complaint could further unsettle the paddock, and with McLaren and Ferrari aiming to upset Christian Horner and Verstappen once again this weekend at the Spanish Grand Prix, a close eye will likely be kept on their front wings in Barcelona. While all front wings undergo stationary tests by the FIA, teams can still pass these static tests while maintaining some movement during flying laps, which enhances performance. Red Bull reportedly approached Lawrence Stroll's team to officially protest this issue. However, Aston Martin declined, likely because they are developing a similar solution themselves. This issue is unlikely to be resolved quickly. The remaining champions are expected to maintain their suspicions for the foreseeable future. There is currently no evidence to suggest any wrongdoing. This situation highlights the increasing intensity among the top teams. Red Bull understands that nothing will come easy from now on, so applying pressure on their rivals both on and off the track is a strategic move. But will it provide with something more tangible is another question. Red Bull are definitely starting to feel the pressure because this season has been nothing like we expected after the first few races. McLaren are suddenly catching up, even winning a race and constantly being on the podium, and Ferrari, despite their slip up in Montreal, are still a force to be reckoned with. Moreover, Red Bull extending Perez his contract proves that the team is going all out on keeping their Drivers' Championship and heavily prioritising it rather than the Constructors' one, because Perez will be unable to be in the top 4 drivers this year. McLaren CEO Zak Brown believes his team are closing in on Red Bull, having seen star driver Lando Norris take 3 top 2 finishes in the previous 4 Grand Prix. If you look at Red Bull the last few years and Mercedes before that, typically the teams that win the championship are kind of the best at everything, not most things, Brown told The Score. If you look at Red Bull the last few years, they've had the fastest car, they've had the least amount of tyre deg, they've had the best pit stops, they've had the complete package to win on a regular basis. So I think we have 2 great drivers. We clearly have a very fast race car, we have very good pit stops, but have room to improve. Our reliability is much stronger, so we're knocking on the door. It's just about being a little bit incrementally better everywhere. Brown's comments come after Verstappen warned in Monaco that Red Bull will be very dangerous and very tough to beat in a title fight due to their recent experience of competing at the front of the field. He told media, "Being at the front for quite a few years and as a team, the way we operate, I think it can make a difference to teams that are trying to chase that. We just try to stay calm and collected. We know that over the last few races, teams have been catching up or have beaten us, so of course we want to try and improve as well. But I do think with the experience we've had over the last few years, it makes us a very tough team to beat in a championship because we don't make many mistakes. You try to always optimize everything, and that applies, I think, to life in general. You keep on learning, you keep trying to be better, but I think that does make us very dangerous in a championship fight." Red Bull's struggles at recent rounds is already a signal that it is feeling the heat. While Verstappen won in Imola and Montreal, it did not go off without a hitch. The Dutchman consistently complained about his RB20 even when the team had made adjustments after hard work at the factory. Verstappen indicated that he felt slightly better in the car, but on the hard tyre, once again, he ran into trouble. On the hard tyres, something was not optimised because I just never felt like the tyres were working on our car, he said. So that's something that we have to analyse. But clearly the teams around us, they are catching up and they're doing a really good job. So we also need to try and find improvements, from our side. All in all, it looks like we're going to see 15 more exciting weekends. It is no longer a foregone conclusion that Red Bull will eclipse everyone by 20 seconds in the race, especially if McLaren as well as Ferrari are going to get even more out of the car. And Red Bull have all the right to feel under pressure and perform moves like this one because the goal justifies the means. That goal is the title, and in every sport you always want to win, and it should be like that as long as it is within the rules. So the Milton Keynes squad have a lot on their plate to deal with in Barcelona, albeit we will now have a few European weekends where their car has proven to be the best as their high-speed tracks. What's going to be interesting though is what happens if Verstappen doesn't win in all of them. The first one is Barcelona coming up this weekend, and we'll see where we stand after that. What do you think? Will Red Bull prove their dominance in Barcelona and beyond? Let us know down in the comments below. We'll see you soon in the next video.